Thank you. We'll call to order and pledge of allegiance. The Finance Committee is a standing subcommittee consisting of two council members, currently Paul McCoy and Colleen Baker, the city manager, the city treasurer, and the finance director. The Finance Committee considers and makes recommendations on matters referred to it by the city council relating to finance, budget, audits, and capital planning and debt. So if you would, please rise for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So we'll go back to public comment. Before I start with public comment, I'm going to share. I know most of you all know that the city lost a faithful member of the past of the Planning Commission. Peter O'Brien passed away, who was the chairman at the time of the Planning Commission last Saturday night. And so I just want to, just take a moment to let you know so that we can honor him in any way we want. Now we'll go on to public comments. Public participation is limited to those items listed on the agenda. If your comments do not concern an item listed on this agenda, please address the Finance Committee at the next meeting. The city requests that persons addressing the Finance Committee refrain from making personal, slanderous, profane, or disruptive remarks. Committee members who recognized by the committee chair, when recognized by the committee chair, may ask questions from the presenter, but no action may be taken by the committee during the public comment section of the meeting. Under the Brown Act, the committee is prohibited from discussing or taking action on any item not listed on the posted agenda. We would ask you please speak from the podium. Please state your name for the record prior to providing your comments. Please address the committee as a whole. If you have documents to present, please provide a minimum of 6 copies and please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. And that being said, we'll go to item 3, which is, we'll continue with item 2, which is public comment. If anybody has public comment, now would be the time. Thank you, Lorenzo.
Yeah, Lorenzo Love. This is a procedural problem here. If your comments do not concern an item listed on this agenda, please address the Financial Committee at the next meeting. Well, the next meeting, it's going to be exactly the same statement. So therefore, you can never make a public comment about something that's not on the current agenda.
I believe what they're referring to is to put it on the next agenda, is what they're referring to.
Will you put something on the next agenda if somebody from the public requests it?
I would assume if it belonged here, or if there was council members that wanted it on, then they would put it on.
Yeah, but
are you referring to anything in particular?
No, this is
okay.
Just a method of stifling public comment.
I appreciate you pointing that out, and we'll take it under advisement.
All right.
So we can discuss it. Okay. Thank you, Lorenzo.
Jan Osborne, Yreka. I don't usually come to your meetings, but I saw that the agenda, and let me go back. First, I want to thank the chairman for straightening me out about what this meeting was, because I misunderstood and thought it was a special meeting of the council. And now I'm straightened out. But I was interested in it even when I thought it was a special meeting of the city council, because 2 words jumped out at me. Actually, 2 phrases. Comfort Inn and Jefferson Inn. And that made me think that they're going to be, you'll be discussing somehow home key. Now, I could be wrong, but those two places have been mentioned as possibilities for home key housing, which I am opposed to because I am seeing Yreka become a bedroom community for the deranged and the addicted. And we're putting things in at different. So I know I just have 3 minutes, but if I'm off base that this is not about anything with home key or applying for the grants, I apologize, but I did want you to hear my opinion.
Thank you very much, Jen. We appreciate that. Public comment follow-up. This is a time for the Finance Committee or the City Manager to respond to public comments and may direct staff to prepare a report or place an item on a future agenda. I don't have anything at this point in time. Do you, Madam Councilwoman or Madam Finance?
Yes, Mr. Ledbetter, it's my understanding that this is an ad hoc committee.
That is correct.
So could you research the requirements for notice and the agenda? So there may be some updates to that.
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you.
Did you have anything you wanted to, you bet.
Yeah, as far as your concern, Ms. Osborne, this has nothing to do with home key. This is really an audit that gets done periodically for the transient occupancy tax. And a handful of motels or hotels are chosen annually and then audited. And so we're going to discuss some non-conformances to the audit at these locations concerning transient occupancy tax. And we won't be discussing home key at all.
Sure. No. I know you're going to talk in a minute. So, okay, so we're going to go on to item 4A, which is discussion and review of an agreement with Wiest and CalMuni for consulting services for long-time financial planning, capital improvement plan, and financial policy updates. And I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Aldrich.
This microphone's so weird.
What's that?
I feel like I'm in a radio studio. Before you is a proposed agreement with Cameron Wiest. I don't know if you guys recall or not, we've worked with Cameron in the past regarding financing, solidifying loans for major projects. He's very familiar with our city and our policies. What this agreement is to engage them to develop a long-term financial plan, specifically for our general fund first. That would also include a capital improvements plan, as well as updates to our financial policies. So we would be working with him to develop how best to plan for our future, minimum 10 years in advance, so that we can maintain our level of service and be able to be productive in the future. The second part of this is we also is included is long-term financial planning for both water and sewer. So beyond our 218 process, it would be a little further out projection on making sure we have stable reserves and all of those good things. We think it's I think it's on page A1 is where it starts going into detail on what the services are. If you have more detailed questions, there is also a portion of this that gives us the ability to engage in debt, to have him help us get debt obligations in the future if that is what we are looking to do as part of that financial plan. So it's just kind of all encompassing an agreement to get him on board, to create the plan and figure out our best directive. The first part, we're looking at not to exceed about 32,000. And the other funds, would be an additional 10. I don't think we have to engage him on the second part, whenever we decide to. I think our intentions are to engage him on the long-term financial plan for the general fund first and see how that goes. And then we would engage the second part after we kind of have that solidified. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. Do we have any questions?
Well, I know that we have used him before and he's been very good for us. He's helped us tremendously navigate some difficult waters. Part of when you're talking about, I'm just going to clarify something, because when you're talking about long-term general fund, capital improvement, things like that, we're also including I would thing I'm going to ask is that when he is talking about water and sewer going out like 20 or 30 years and the 218 process, I think he should be able to help us to address the fact that the finance committee recommended that we give a certain percentage for water and sewer raise, and then the council decided not to do that, and so in that respect, they put water and sewer in a hole for the next for at least 5 years. They put them in a hole. They're not going to be able to keep up with their obligations, so they'll be pulling money from other places. And will he be able to help us with that as well?
I believe so, yes.
Yeah, to give us
Give us some directive.
give us some direction.
Make the plan so we can work the plan.
Yeah, I don't mean solve the whole problem. That's
Right.
the problem we created. The council created it. Now the council needs to figure out how to maneuver these things that we don't have enough money for. So, okay, thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to Council Member Baker.
Thank you. So, Ms. Aldridge, I have a question about some statements that Councilmember McCoy made. When you presented the budget a couple of meetings back,
Yes.
you showed us the trend for the water fund that this year we're
dipping in.
underwater.
Yes. Yeah, we're dipping in.
But that in future years,
It got less and less
Less.
until it was finally that we were putting money back into reserves, but it'll take us a while to recoup the ones that we're losing this year,
okay,
if that makes sense.
it does. It does.
Yeah.
Okay. My question just had to do with if this included planning for unfunded liabilities. You've answered that question. And you said that we have used Mr. Weist in the past. Have
Correct.
we had this kind of contract with him in the past, or is this new?
No, we have had past contracts with him. In the past, we've worked with him on some other financial policies. We haven't done a financial plan with him.
Okay.
So this would be our first endeavor with that.
Well, I think that's a positive way for the city to go.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Yeah, and I just want to state that, obviously the 218 process, we're very familiar with that. Part of this long-term solution is just more education and more discussion over the topic so people feel more comfortable and they kind of are more knowledgeable. I think that's probably where we lost really, talking about it for a few years and really understanding the budgetary constraints over those two enterprise funds, I think will just benefit the decision-making process moving forward. But really, for the fire hall build, this is imperative because this is going to lead into the USDA loan that will have to get solidified as part of the financial planning and will really set the stage for us to be very successful with the development of the fire hall. So it's super important. And we love Cameron Weist, very enjoyable to work with.
Yeah.
And he is the one that think you sat through a meeting with us with unfunded liability. That was
Yes.
Cameron. Yeah.
He explained it so that I finally got it.
Yeah. He's really
After
good.
years.
Yeah.
It's not an easy topic.
Again, so we're not looking for, I'm not, we're looking for direction here to take
Yes.
back to the council.
Yes.
And we have four of us here, and I am going to call on you, not for a vote. I just want to make sure that, on item 4, a review of an agreement with Wheaton Cal Muni for consulting services for long-term financial planning, capital improvement plan, and financial policy updates. That's this, agreement right here that, I want to know if we have we're in agreement with it or we're not in agreement, because I'm in agreement with it.
I think we can make a motion to bring this item that I make a motion that
Okay.
the finance committee agree to send this item completely supported to a city council vote at a future meeting.
I'll second that.
I agree.
Let me put them in a second. It's Mrs. Baker. All in favor? I'm just gonna take not an individual vote, a voice vote. Is that okay?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yes.
Opposed? Nays? Abstentions? So the motion carries 4-0.
But if you don't mind, Chair, I just want to make a statement for the audience. So because sometimes government is obviously confusing, but this body will never vote on spending money. We're not allowed to. This body just discusses the items
Yep.
and then decides whether or not they want to send the item to city council for an actual vote. So the finance committee has no authority to spend money. So
Amen. Thank you for that. Yeah, we have no authority for that. So item 4, discussion and review of HDL audit for the Comfort Inn and Jefferson Inn. And again, these two have been targeted, not targeted. These two have been chosen at random,
Yes.
or audited at random. Yes, thank you.
Yes. So annually, not annually, before I came on board, we engaged a company called HDL. Their full name's like Hinder Lawton and something or other. But HDL, and they monitor our sales tax and they give us projections, and they also collect our TOT tax and then remit it to us. And part of that agreement that we pay for is that they go and annually audit some of our hotels. We've done a number of these audits. We've had some, issues. Mainly the most common thing that happens is we have hotels that are not appropriately charging the TOT tax. Not purposefully, just not being educated in, hey, if there's a pet fee, the TOT is supposed to be charged on that. And they're not. So this has come up more than once, and it's come up again. One of the establishments was perfectly in compliance. The other one, again, had some other revenue that they weren't taxing the TOT tax on. They've already contacted us. And of course, they have asked for forgiveness and all of that good stuff, which again is not something we can make a final decision on. But they have not received this entire report yet. I wanted to bring it in front of you guys first, just kind of get a feel for maybe what what your feelings were on as far as working with this entity and how we can.
Do we have a copy of that?
No, I did not make copies only because it has like their revenue,
Okay.
the entity's actual like revenue that they're making.
Private figure.
Yeah. So it's just kind of for confidentiality. But we can talk numbers if you want. It's about $8,000. So it's not a huge sum of money. As part of this that came up though, Jason and myself are working on a letter to send to all of the establishments and be like, look, here's everything that you're supposed to be
Charging
TOT on. Make sure that your point of sale system is appropriately charging the tax on all of these items. Because I think one of their arguments was, well, we bought the business, we just assumed it was correct. So, which on one hand, I guess I could understand how that would be. You're like, oh, they've been operating this way the whole time. Well, it just means they've been operating incorrectly the whole time. Like, and just never got,
Ignorance.
yes, yes.
Ignorance is bliss.
So we are working on that letter to send to all of our establishments so that everyone is aware and they can't say they didn't know. And then we'll continue doing these audits to try to get them on point. So I don't know how hard you want me to push on trying to collect on this, or if we're gonna want to have that discussion with them, or how you guys want to proceed.
Thoughts or comments, Madam Councilwoman?
How much money are we talking about?
In total, $8,000. That's including penalties and interest. Like 8,700. So not a ton of money, don't get me wrong, but it's also what was owed to us. $6,000 is the TOT.
And I just want to make sure that I have this straight in my mind, that there is an audit done at random, different hotel, motel establishments in the city limits of Yreka.
Yep.
And this is what this audit has uncovered,
Yep.
the totally random audit.
Yep.
Have these two establishments recently changed hands, ownership?
The one did, but not recently. Like I think they've owned it for a few years.
Yeah, I think after the audit completed at Comfort Inn, that's when we got a call from the owner concerned about what he was already being told was a discrepancy. And I think that that had changed hands. That particular site was newer.
Yeah.
The changing of hands was newer. Yeah. And in the past, we waived some of these fees. I think we had one of the local locations was upward of $60,000 total.
Yeah.
And I think we negotiated that down or compromised that down. And one of the ways was we got rid of penalties and just stuck with, hey, you owe us this money. But we're open to do anything. We're just here to get direction from you guys before we go back to Comfort Inn.
So I'm just thinking about how I want to phrase this question. So Comfort Inn had relatively new owners, or
Yes.
within the, what's the period that this audit covered?
This audit actually covers back to 2021.
Okay. And we don't know when the new owners.
I think after that date, they became owners. Personally, that's my understanding. Because Sanjay at the other location is relatively new too, right? He's been there for 3 or 4 years as well.
Yeah.
So I'm of the mindset that I would like to see the fees collected, but let's waive the interest and the penalties. We can kind of, okay, you were new. Yes, you should have looked into all of this.
Right.
I think that's kind of a good compromise. And I really like that you guys are coming up with a really proactive approach to get that letter out to every hotel, motel in Yreka. So that kind of puts everybody on notice.
Yeah. Look at your
Basically.
stuff.
Yeah. Look at your stuff.
Yeah.
So, but those are just my thoughts.
Okay.
So, thank you.
I can support the councilwoman's proposal. I mean, I know when I had Sears for 7 years, I ran into state and federal charges that I didn't realize I had to do for batteries, for oil, for engines on mowers and stuff. And I had to pay it. But it does seem that if we, in the spirit of, as she said, not to put words in your mouth, but maybe in the spirit of good, what word am I looking for? Good intentions, we go ahead and collect, but we only collect everything except interest and penalties. I can support that, what she's proposed. I think I think she's come up with a good idea.
I don't want to speak for Emily, but I'm going to, and that's going to be, we both support that.
I'm sorry, what?
We both support your idea.
Good.
So I believe that's kind of where we stood before the meeting.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I think if if an entity gets chosen again to be audited and they've already been audited once and they still have the same discrepancies,
Don't they pay it?
my opinion may be different.
Yeah.
Right.
Of you got your hand slapped once, we made it easier for you. And yeah, you didn't learn your lesson.
So I want to thank Councilwoman Baker for coming up, with that idea. We need to make it clear that this money does not go into our general fund. This money, the city doesn't run on this money, so we don't have a TOT.
It goes-
Doesn't
it
it
goes-
go into advertising and
no, that's the T bid. The
Oh,
TO
I
the
apologize.
TOT definitely, so that's a
Okay.
good point. There's two different fees.
I'm
The
thinking of T-bid.
TOT is 10%. The T bid, I think, is 2%. The T bid goes to Discover Siskiyou. TOT comes in as general fund, and normally the last few years we've booked revenue expectation of $1.2 million into the general fund.
Okay.
Because we do get people that'll say, let's spend that TOT on something very specific, and it's already paying for
a
you know,
police officer or whatever.
parks and
Yeah,
normal
I
stuff.
stand corrected. So I stand corrected.
And, I'm sorry.
No, you go right ahead.
And the T-bid, it's my understanding, is an assessment that the hotels and motels have put upon themselves, that it was not a tax that the city put on them. Is that correct?
That is correct. It's like a financing district that they've decided to finance themselves or to tax themselves as a tourism district in order to take that revenue and drive more tourism for themselves to get more business. Yep.
Thank you for that point, Councilwoman Baker. Do we want a motion on this? Do we need a motion? Can we just give you direction on this?
We can take consensus and we'll move forward and schedule a meeting.
We're all in agreement with the proposal that Councilwoman Baker has put before us. So that would be to correct me if I misspeak, to collect the original sum minus the interest and penalty. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Thank you again. Do we have? Okay, it doesn't look like we have anything else for the good of the order. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and adjourn at 2:28 p.m.